Welcome to the talk show where men unite. We're having conversations that inspire and ignite. From relationships to wellness, we cover it all. In this positive space, we're standing tall. We're the men of the talk show, spreading good vibes, sharing knowledge, opening hearts wide. We got positive energy flowing through. Join the conversation, let us empower you.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Men's Talk Show. Wayne and Daron are here again. We're so glad that you guys are tuning in. Thanks you for the comments and the likes on our videos. Thanks to the subscribers. It really motivates us to keep going, to help men who are going through the struggle. I mean, that's why we do this. No one's perfect, and together we can all overcome these things. We have an important topic we're going to talk about today. And today we're going to go over how do men learn to love themselves prior to getting into a healthy relationship. And the reason why I talk about this is because, so often like we as men, like we want to get into a relationship and then it doesn't work out. And, maybe a part of it is that we as the man doesn't understand our own value, what we bring to a relationship, and how to love ourselves and let somebody in as well. So with that, let me kick over to you, Daron, and feel free to jump in.
I think this is a very important conversation to have because I know a lot of me personally, it's been years since I had to really fight to love myself over the couple of the past years, just because I've been through so much in my life and I didn't know my worth. And what I can bring into a relationship. But definitely, this is definitely a topic that is prevalent that a lot of men probably don't talk about because they feel some type of way. But to answer the question, how do men learn to learn themselves before they get in a healthy relationship? I think it just goes back to just being kind to yourself and accepting your flaws, no matter what relationship you get into. Because for me, I had to really learn to be, understanding of my partner. A lot of times when I was in a past relationship, I would always I really didn't understand how to, communicate well. So that was one of the biggest factors for me in how I, didn't really kind of learn to love myself because I had communication problems. And I see so many relationships go down the hill because of that. And when you learn to communicate better, I feel like that's going to be a healthy relationship. But to answer the question, like, how do I learn to love? I think it just goes back to just setting positive affirmations for yourself, just being kind to yourself and just being able to meet yourself where you're at currently. And if you have to seek therapy to seek out those kinks that you don't like about yourself, in order to have that healthy relationship, so be it,
Yeah, you brought up some good points there, and definitely about communication in a relationship, being open about who you are and your flaws and things like that. So often we hear about happy wife, happy life, happy girlfriend, whatever, happy whoever you're with. It's all about giving to the other person, but really that's not what a relationship is about. It's about a happy medium and balance in between both. Because it's not a one-way relationship, right? Especially in today's world where the man isn't just a provider, right? Especially in my situation where I'm more of the homemaker. I have a pretty good job, but my schedule allows me to be home more. So I do more of the home stuff. And we communicate that. So, but when I think back to my earlier relationships, the reason why they didn't work out is because I didn't understand me. And I was still growing as a person. And so there may be some things that I like or don't like, and I'm afraid to say those things. Or, you're just unhappy with yourself. Like, oh, man, I wish I could be taller. And, the whole comparison thing with other people. That's a part of loving yourself, too. And when you don't love yourself, you can't just expect somebody to come in and love you. And then that fixes everything, right?
I would totally agree with that, because if you don't love yourself, it's going to seep into the relationship and fall all apart. It was a lot of flaws that I had to kind of work through. I just kind of like loving my body, so I didn't bring that into the relationship with my spouse. So many times I would look in the mirror and feel so dissatisfied And that would carry over, and I would constantly get her validation, like, do you love me for me? It was just so many, I was pretty much self-doubting myself the whole time, and I just didn't look for me. And that can be kind of draining to a woman, and they're trying to support you and love you the way you are, but you don't see yourself as valid, and they're equal. So that took
Yeah,
me to,
because we think that that's a female trait, right? It's like, oh, well, my wife's a girlfriend, whoever's always asking, do I look pretty? Do you love me? Do you trust me? But no, we as men, we need to, we do look for the same thing as well. But part of that is again, is what we're talking about, is being able to trust within yourself, and loving who you are as a person. Because like I said, again, somebody's just not going to come and give you love and then that fixes everything, right? Because if that person goes away, whether y'all break up, whether something happens to them and they pass away or whatever, like life happens, and that person may not always be there forever. And so, how are you going to be at that point? And and then you're stuck with a void, and you're trying to fill that void with some other thing, and maybe a bad habit, and you're going on a downward spiral.
yeah, because I've seen so many friend guys have failed relationships because they didn't see themselves as worthy of being with this woman. Like, she was, had good sex, and they didn't feel like they had nothing to bring to the table. They just felt so empty inside, that they always needed that constant validation. They always needed to be around that person because they didn't really know who they were without them. And I feel like that's a bad trait. And that's why they say you have to wait before you get into another relationship, to really work on yourself, make sure you're healed before you get into that next relationship. Because if you get into the next relationship, it's going to keep repeating the same cycle of toxicity. And I've seen it over and over with some of my guy friends. They're like, why I can't get a girl? Well, what are you doing differently than the last relationship? Are you bringing the same issues that you had in the last relationship to the current girlfriend? And then we just be sitting back and laughing and tripping, because, like, yes, that's the problem. You're not accepting who you are, and you're not growing to be a better person, so you can be in a healthy, sustainable relationship.
Yeah,
So
you hit on a good point there. It's not about loving yourself and this is me, this is how I am, and I love it. No, loving yourself is also if you have a flaw, or if you're stuck in a rut, or your environment that you're in is not the best environment, but you want to do something or be somebody else, you have an aspiration, work on it. Right? That's a part of loving yourself too, is taking care of yourself to reach your goals and have aspirations. When I just talked about this with my wife yesterday, when I was in my early 20s, I just wanted to do better than my father or my family did. And once I hit that point, all right, I'm good. Like, I don't have to struggle for my bills. I could buy things here and there, but there's a whole nother aspect of um, financial, man, what's the word I'm looking for?
accountability, or
Not accountability, just being able to live freely, not have financial freedom to do things. And when you get outside of your environment and you look out and see how people live, I get a great example of aspiration, right? Something that inspired me. Like I said, I was living set. Like I said I was in love with myself because I was good at that point, right? But I didn't realize that there's a whole nother level that you can get to in life. And it happened to when I met some people who came here as immigrants to the United States. And they came here, and I talked to them, and like they all have like $1 million houses, and they have nice cars, and they go on vacations. And I'm like, how did y'all get there? And you see them, and they shop at Costco. They have normal Levi jeans. Like, they don't have like flashy things. I was like, how do you guys get there? And they tell me they get there because, well, they all came here to the States for school, and they slept on friends' couches, and they worked 2, 3 jobs, and they build and build and build. And then eventually, through hard work, they make it. And it really took for me to really see and meet people like that, to where it really lit a fire in me, to where I was like, you know what? I want that for myself as well. And so I aspire to work harder and to achieve those goals as well. And that's a part of loving yourself as well.
I definitely would agree. You have to just keep setting the goals up for yourself in order to be your whole. But a lot of times people, they just have to learn to accept their flaws when they get into relationships. Say, this is me and this is going to be me. So if you don't like this, obviously you don't want toxicity to go on into a relationship. Sorry about that. I'll cut that part out. Somebody was at my door. But yeah, like I was saying, a lot of times people don't bring their full selves into this relationship. They bring like a fake version of themselves into the relationship. And that's going to even set up the relationship to be a disaster because they're not being their authentic selves.
The true
And
self will come out eventually.
yeah. So a lot of times you really have to work on yourself and say, this is me, I'm going to accept my flaws for who they are and for what they are. And just know that I'm not bringing any toxicity. I'm just going to be that weird guy or that quirky guy or that sarcastic guy. Bring
Yeah,
that
everybody's
side.
weird in their own way.
Yeah, bring that side to the relationship because it's going to be, I tell you, some woman or some guy or whoever you get with is going to love that for you. And don't
That's what
hide.
makes it interesting.
Yeah.
When you have somebody that's different like that, it makes it interesting in a relationship. That's what draws you in. Like, oh, this person's not like everybody else. We're all weird in our own ways, you know?
Yeah, and that's a little bit, I talked about a little bit earlier ago about positive affirmations. And I would say for me, I had to really like look in the mirror and accept myself for who I was because I had to really nail down and say, goes beyond the looks and the imperfections that you see within yourself and look at the qualities that I do have and that I can bring to the relationship. So if I didn't like my body at one point, obviously get intimate and all that, and you gotta show skin and all that, but it needs the relationship. I wanted to find someone that was a little bit more deeper and that goes with beyond looks and things that society esteem as worthiness or good lookingness and stuff like that. I wanted to go a little bit deeper to that. So every morning I would stand in the mirror and say, you are kind, you are beautiful, you are worthy, you deserve love. And I carry that over and over into the
Yeah,
next
those
day.
are great.
Yeah, because I think men need to do that as well, because I know women do that a lot, but I feel like men can do that as well too. And then if you say that enough times, you build up enough confidence. Say, I got this. I'm gonna work with what I got.
I mean, it's true because like when you start a relationship or you are interested in somebody and you're trying to get with them, right? You're going to show your best self, right? You're going to be like, ooh, I do this and I do that. And like I said, eventually the truth will come out. And that's what you said too. Like, you can buy certain clothes to make you look a certain type of way. Eventually those clothes come off, right? Or whatever you have, it will show in the end. And so one thing I can say is that to help with that and help with loving yourself when you're starting a relationship is to just be honest and be open. Obviously not like if you're showing interest in somebody, you gotta get them attracted to you. You gotta, you know, maybe the person doesn't even know you exist, right? You see them in the coffee shop every day, they don't know you exist. So you gotta somehow spark a conversation. But after a few dates or something, and things are going pretty well, it's been, a month or so, whatever. You be honest with yourself, like, hey, this is going well, but I want to be honest about who I am, and I have these flaws that I'm working on. Maybe I'm trying to lose weight, or maybe I'm not where I want to be financially, and I'm trying to make goals to I can aspire to be at, or maybe in the past I've had this trait where I feel insecure because I don't feel worthy of such a beautiful person that I feel insecure that when you're not around me, I feel like maybe there's other guys hitting on you, and be honest and like I want to fix my insecurity or whatever it is. And if that person is receptive, then that's you have something to build on. That's a foundation of trust right there that's going to help that relationship. And if they don't want that, or if they don't believe you or don't accept that, then you haven't wasted 6 7 months. That's not the person for you.
I would totally agree with that. It's so many things. Like, so what happens? Let's switch it to a different question or a little bit deeper. What happens when you bring your whole self to the relationship and you financially well off and you're confident in yourself, but then you get with somebody that's not, up to par, or they're still working on themselves, because it's not always the man's fault. It could be the women that's not up to par too.
Well, we know about that. Like men will go and, one thing we don't care about, most men, is the financial part. Especially when you're looking for something, first thing for men is looks, right? You want someone that arm cannon looks good on your side. Whether you want a guy or a girl, you want someone that looks good, right? Meets the features that you want. Doesn't necessarily have to be like a Hollywood type body. So maybe that doesn't work for everybody. I mean, look, women like dad bods as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody's going to look like The Rock or, name your celebrity, Chris Hemsworth, whatever. But no, like, so that's one thing. Like, men will go for looks. They don't really care about financial stability so much, because they'll be like, yeah, I can, especially if you got money as a man, you're like, I got money. Like, just need you to look good, take care of the house, make me happy, those type of things. But eventually that person is going to change or want more for themselves. So let's get off of financial. Let's talk about, maybe she's had bad relationships in the past where she has a problem with trust. And so she doesn't love herself. She feels like there's something wrong with her because of all these guys been cheating on her or whatever. And how you go about that as the man who's trying to fix herself is the same thing. You got to look and see if that's the type of thing you want. If you want to help that person grow, knowing that there's going to be speed bumps along the way where they're going to be clingy because they feel like if you're away from them, you're going to do something. If you're ready to accept that and the person meets all your other goals, like they're ambitious and they were career minded or whatever, or they're great with, will be a great mother of children, then go for it. But if you don't have the patience for that and you don't want to help build that person, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be the savior, right? If that's not what you want, but you got to ask yourself too, it's about loving yourself and seeing what do you really want in a relationship.
Loving yourself is being kind to yourself, asking those hard questions. Do I want to put up with toxicity? Loving yourself is asking those questions that's going to probably offend or really have your partner look deeper within themselves, because it takes two to tango. I can't be whole and have things together, and then I have a partner that's falling all apart. Now, given, is certain things that you can grow together and learn to and help that other person navigate some of their problems. But if it becomes too toxic and it becomes too draining for you, then that's when you have to really learn to love yourself and get out of the relationship.
I think this is why it's better to, and now that I'm in my 30s, it's easier to say, but I feel like it's better to wait, not to get in relationships and date, because you should do that. But like before you really get serious and like long-term committed marriage and things like that and having kids with somebody, you should really take care of yourself first. Learn yourself, do your 20s. And then when you're in your 30s, you'll probably have a little bit more money, you're a little bit better career. The things that you liked when you're 18 and 19, you most likely not going to like those things anymore. And you're going to grow and change. And instead of when you're 20 and you got a girlfriend and y'all are both changing, she's like, why do you like that kid stuff that you used to do? Like, hang out in the corner or whatever. You don't know what young kids do now. Giddy, whatever. I'm so old now. I don't know what they do, the teenagers, but you still do that in your early 20s with the girls. Like, why you still do that? And, that's going to cause an argument. And when you get older in your 30s, like, those things are past. So, that helps too. Like, the last thing I want to do at 30, 38 is go to a club. That's the last thing I want to do is go to a club. But in my 20s, that's what we had to go to club. And if you got a girlfriend, like, all right, I'm going to the club with the guys, that starts an argument. Why you always got to go to the club type of thing,
Yeah. And I think also part in loving yourself is just understanding the hobbies and things that you like versus your partner. I mean, you guys can be on you can do two different things or have different friend groups and stuff like that, but you have to learn to have space for one another. I think that's what makes a healthy relationship as well. So many times people
that
like to
is
be
so important.
Yeah,
you don't have to be up under each other 24/7.
Yeah. Sometimes people just like to be under their significant other all day long and every day. I'm like, don't you want to break from them? Like, ugh, that's toxic right there.
I mean, it's cool in the start when you start out because it's a young attraction and it's just blossoming. You know, like, oh, this is nice, and you got all the butterflies and everything like that. After 5-6 months or whatever,
Let's go get old.
you got to be like, okay, this is my person. You know, we love doing things together, but I need to have my own time with my guys or my friends or my hobbies that I like to do. You got to have that time too.
All right, final words. Can you give some men advice about if they're struggling to accept themselves when they're finding love? With some words of encouragement to send to them?
Absolutely. Just know that you're not alone. And those things that you think are only unique to you that are not good or don't fit societal norms, you're not the only one. And it's not unique to you. There's so many guys who have the same thing and they're all dealing with it. Not all, they're living with it. You can live with it too. And it's something that you aspire to overcome and do better at, right? Set a goal and work on it and be open about it. If you opportunity strikes and you found this person that's perfect for you, but you're not in the right state yet, address that. You know, if things get along, like, hey, I'm working on this and that, and I want to do better, and I don't want to miss this opportunity to be with you. Be open about that too, and then that'll help the relationship set a solid foundation to grow upon.
Yeah, everything you said basically, but I'll add a little bit more to it. I feel like I said in the beginning, just doing those daily positive affirmations is going to make you a stronger person, because you want to be in a healthy mindset and you want to have healthy things go on for yourself before you even get in a relationship. So then when you get together, y'all can add to each other instead of tearing each other apart. Because I've seen it so many times. But just daily positive affirmations, working on your flaws, even if you think they don't need to be improved, just continue to keep working on yourself. Keep asking those hard questions that you shy away on a daily basis, and just what you have going for yourself instead of always thinking about the negative. But that is all the time we have today. Thank you, Wayne, for joining me and talking about a very topic that's not really talked about, I think, a lot for men.
That's what we do here, the Men Talk Show.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
All right. Have a good one.
See ya.